Good afternoon. Habari ya jioni. Allow me first of all to say this. Sometimes, and you will understand this when I get underway, there are things in your life that frankly overwhelm you and intimidate you because you don't expect them. And even in your wildest imagination, you don't hope that they would happen. And I'm going to describe some of those incidents shortly. But first of all, let me start by thanking you very sincerely from the bottom of my heart. The leaders who have put this up, Miriam, Rispa, Vincent. Heb, when you were speaking here, I was telling Ambassador, you're actually expecting the wrong candidate. The candidate is here. And all of you wonderful people. You've received us very well since we arrived here last night. And we've had a good time. Many of you, we have been communicating a good part of the last 1 or 2 months. I've come to know a lot of you because of this and a lot of Kenyans who live in the US. I'm also very grateful to see all of you here. There are some of you I'm seeing for the first time after so many years. For obvious reasons that, some of you, when we parted after school, you came to the US to pursue your studies and then you ended up taking up jobs here. We have been corresponding once in a while, but we've never had the opportunity to meet face to face. Some of you are people we grew up with. We worshipped in church, like this wonderful mama here, together for a long time at Nairobi South Church. And some of you grew up with me in the village where I grew up, like that wonderful lady there and so on. And now, God has provided this opportunity for us to meet here. I am humbled by the reception and the interest that you have shown. The numerous pieces of advice I have received from you as we have kept communicating in the last 2-3 months. The interest for all of you to turn up here this afternoon. A good number of you have even seen someone here I worked with at the University of Nairobi some time back. So this is a good way of meeting people and so on. But I'm even more grateful that all of us who are here and Kenyans who are here are making good use of our time in the US. We are not wasting our time around. We are doing great stuff. People are doing investments and moving their life forward. So let's go to this evening's meeting. I have been agonizing about this for the last 2 weeks. When I was invited and asked to come and make a speech, the first question I asked myself is, where am I actually going to start? And how do I locate my speech in addressing you, my fellow Kenyans? So I will start here. First of all, by publicly and very sincerely thanking the Lord for the opportunity He has given me. A good number of people in this audience know me in a very personal manner. They have seen me from the time I was very young. And some people in this audience know how I grew up in the village. There is no time, even as I was growing up, that I thought that a day like today would come, or I would come across the opportunities that I have come across in my life recently. For that, I thank the Lord and I am very sincerely grateful. And I will say publicly that I ascribe nothing to this, but to the blessing and honor and favor of the Lord. Secondly, thank a lot of people and people God has put in my life. Even when I have thought that some things were happening out of misfortune or some things were happening in a very unfortunate manner to me, I did not know, but I think the Lord was blessing me or the Lord was guiding me in a particular direction. And as we go forward and as we keep discussing the things that we are going to discuss both tonight, and as we go forward, you will see for sure that I sincerely believe what I say, and I sincerely take serious my responsibilities. And therefore, in speaking to you tonight, for the few minutes I will speak to you, I have elected to speak to you from my heart instead of reading a speech. And this is the right point of departure, because I want to have a conversation with you. When I came to the US this time around, in 2023, I had served as a cabinet minister for 10 years, mainly in 3 ministries: the Ministry of ICT, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government, and I had briefly for about 8 months acted as Minister for Lands when a transition was happening in government. And in addition to that, in 2019, the President, by executive order, created a position of chairperson of the Cabinet Committee on Development, essentially or constitutionally a de facto Prime Minister position. And I was privileged, and I thank the Lord, to serve in that position for 4 years, for nearly 4 years. And so at the end of the elections in 2022, I was logically exhausted. I'd never had any leave of any kind. And I looked forward to at least 1 year of total shutdown and downtime. So that I even tried to have quality time with my wife and children. Because previously when I was serving, you know, when you serve as the Minister for Security particularly, the truth of the matter is this, and I don't know about the President people, but you have to make a second bedroom in your house so that your wife does not go crazy. Because you have phones on this side and you have mobile phones here. And sometimes they ring throughout the night. And none of those phones breaks good news to you. Most of those phones are crisis after crisis, issue after issue. So you can imagine at the end of that, the frame of mind in which I was. So circumstances happened as they did, many of which you guys followed. And then my former employer and some other colleagues rang me up and said, well, the bank is advertising a job that you think you should apply because you are eminently qualified for it. I applied. Went through 2 interviews. Well, the first one a bit half-heartedly because I was thinking it was going to disrupt my plan for the 1-year retreat or 1-year rest. But anyway, as God would have it, I came along, I was hired, I reported here in 2023. And this is where I'm going to begin my journey of sharing with you tonight. When I reported at the bank, about 3 or 4 weeks later, I was going for coffee, and I met a very excited group of young Kenyan economists at the bank. Many of them had been there for 2 or 3 years. They asked me, oh, Waziri, is this you? You know the way Kenyans behave when they meet you. Waziri, is this you? I said, it's me for sure. Shake my hand, it's me. Then they said, no. We must sit down. We want to hear you. You know, a lot of us admire you and are inspired. We want to hear you. Give us a date. Ask them, when do you want to meet? They said, well, we have some of our friends who are also working with some think tanks in Washington. Can you allow us a day or 2? Because we want to also ask our friends to come along so that you can talk to all of us. Because there are so many people who would like to listen to you. I said, sure enough, I am here. Long story short, we met at the time that we all agreed. Met these 7 young economists, many of them fresh from graduate school and so on, all of them Kenyans. And they engaged me for about 3 hours. Asked me, how is government? Do you think we should go and, serve government? In fact, one or two or three of the questions they asked me, I saw them on the list of the questions you have asked me tonight. How did you manage to succeed? Well, those things you are doing, like in education, how did you manage to do it? Anyway, we had a long chat. But two things that I told them that are important for tonight. One, I told them, my friends, my experience as I go through this life is that as Kenyans, we now, all of us, need to migrate to the second level of growth and development. And that second level is this. 62 years after independence, we should now be all mature and patriotic people who love their country. When we get into a plane at JKIA and the plane is wheels up, we leave the Kenyan airspace. From there on, we leave everything that's a difference back home. Tribe, our political differences, and so on. And I told them, wherever you work, whether you are with the multilaterals or you are with the think tanks or whatever it is, if you see anything about Kenya, we should never, ever, ever get into the habit of talking down our country. Because our country is our only home on earth. We may have our own differences. They will always be there. There is never going to be a time we will not have differences. But we must always remember that we are Kenyans and we are privileged and blessed to have a country that we call home. So we must be the foremost ambassadors of our country wherever we go. Then I told them something else I've observed. And I said, you can prove me right. Everywhere I've gone, particularly in this country, we are probably one of the most patriotic nations here. I was meeting some of your leaders last night and I gave them some examples that I can't give here because I know there are so many cameras and I don't want to be reported negatively. That in some cases, there are countries in Africa where people don't meet the way we are meeting here as nationals to think about our country and so on. So let us continue this way. And now that we have an opportunity to follow the example that has been given to us by the Gen Z, to forget about our ethnicities and everything else, let's deal with the issues of our country as Kenyans. Because the problems we face do not discriminate. If you go around the country, and I'm going to talk about it shortly, you will hear people complaining or people have problems. Some of the challenges you'll hear in Bomet, you'll hear them in Nyamira, you'll hear them in Kakamega, you'll hear them in Nyeri, and so on and so forth. So why should we worry about our ethnicity? Let us pull together and come together and try to resolve the issues and the challenges we have as a country. Then they asked me a second question, which is going to form the basis of the bulk of the remarks I make. Things about, this budget, these are lies, it's not true. About wash, if we are not very careful, we will launder into office about 40% of our elected leaders who are engaged in this kind of business. So they asked me, why were you so prophetic? I told them, I'm neither a prophet nor a seer. I am not a special person. I'm not even holy. And I don't claim those lofty credentials that you hear politicians talk about. That, I see far. When I was born, my grandmother said that you have the eyes of a leader, and those kinds of things. I don't believe in those types of lies, and I don't live hypocritically like that. I say things the way I see them, and I believe I was raised in a society where 2 and 2 is 4. And I've lived that way all my life. And when I see challenges, I think as a public person, then as a public leader, I have a responsibility to say things as they are. Because you will not solve a problem you don't know and a problem you are not able to admit. So, Archbishop Bolestabit invited me in 2022 to a function of the clergy of the Anglican Church. And after we have had a meeting such as this one we have, I asked the bishop. Bishop said he wants to field questions. I said, sure. Then one bishop asked me a question. Waziri, you know, one group that is campaigning is telling us they will put aside X billions for Boda Boda, X billions for Mama Mboga, X billions for I don't know who. And you guys, where are you taking the money? You are not talking about this money. I told him, Bishop, you are being cheated. This is a lie. And that's why I came up with this famous clip that is doing rounds, that after the coronavirus, the next epidemic is the epidemic of lies. You know, people just lying. An outbreak of lies in the public space where people say things that don't exist. And in a few days after the elections, it was so clear that we were right. The Chief Justice, Justice Martha Koome, convened a meeting in Naivasha of the National Council for the Administration of Justice. And she invited us to the meeting. We were all there, judges of the Supreme Court, judges of the Court of Appeal, all senior security officials were in the room, the Inspector General Police, the then DPP, who's now our Director General National Intelligence Service, and the late Mr. Jebukati, the chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. And then somebody shot again a question at me from the audience on wash and man laundering and so on. And I said, look, let's stop pretending. This thing is going to destroy our country. It has been going on for a while. It's hurting us. And because we don't have an effective electoral law framework in the country, if we are not very careful, we will launder into office. Up to 40% of our elected people are going to be from that group of wash, money launderers, and those kinds of people. I don't know whether you follow this. I'm sure you do as Kenyans. We were grey-listed last year. Last Friday, the EU listed us as a risky financial transactions environment. What is painful is that when you read that list, if you saw that press conference by the EU, Kenya is the only country in Eastern Africa on that list. So these things are real. But let me tell you, that's not all the story. We are privileged and we are blessed to have been endowed with a great country. I can share with you testimonies and experiences for the entire time I was in the public service, and we wouldn't even have enough time for half of them. We have a lot going for us. We have achieved a lot since independence. And honestly speaking, we have registered significant development in very many respects of our country. I keep telling people that, you know, once we finished migration and so on, we have one of the freest media environments on the continent. We have over 159 radio stations. Politically, we are an open society. We have over 89 political parties. The joke, however, is that we have more political parties than all the developed world put together. Yet when you look at our political practice, it doesn't reflect that particular reality, as it were. But anyway, we are there. And you can go on and on about the positive indicators, positive features of our society. We have done very well. Why then do we have the challenges that we do? I was home recently after this talk about, you know, people asking me, are you ready for public leadership? Don't you think you should go back? And actually this conversation started last year in June. I kept telling a lot of people, yeah, I'm going to consider, consult, let me talk to people, you know, and so on. But then I was home last month. What I saw and what I experienced can break your heart, even if it is a heart of stone. I have never, for a long time since I grew up, I've never seen adult women crying, people crying. In fact, at the stage in Nyamira, I got there at around 6:45 p.m. It was drizzling. I had actually even thought about driving home after Kemera, and I just go home because I thought it was becoming dark. Then the MP for Kitutu Masaba and the senator for Nyamira, Okongo Mogen, told me you can't. In Nyamira, at the stage, there are easily 15,000 people waiting for you. You can't go back. So we drove through, and when I got there, I was honestly shocked by the number of people I found there. I recognized a woman who used to be a chief some time back. I tried to call her from the crowd. She found her way and mingled through and came next to where my car was. I felt shy to greet her from the car. I actually pushed the door open and went out to greet her. I was utterly broken when she grabbed my hand and just tears flew down her cheeks. An adult woman. When I went home in the evening, I was telling my wife, I looked at those people, I looked at their faces. I am reminded of the phrase in the New Testament that Jesus saw these people before the Sermon on the Mountain. He saw them, he had beaten on them, and he didn't know what to do. Then the following 2 weeks, my friend Ole Kenta invited me to meet with the elders and leaders in Narok County. I went and sat there, and again I listened to an old man, 70-something years old, speak about the challenges there and what have you, until he shed tears. I couldn't believe it. There is a very deep-seated anger and pain amongst our people. Very deep-seated anger and pain. Frustration, unfulfilled promises, very difficult cost of living, kids dropping out of school because they cannot make ends meet. It appears that we actually have serious challenges. I will, however, my dear friends, tell you this. As a country, and as a leader myself, I am not going to spend time looking back and looking at the challenges. I want to look at what we can do and what we are capable of doing. And therein lies my testimony about my public service. Of the many lessons I learned when I was in the public service, one that will remain in my heart until I die is that we are a uniquely blessed country. What I don't know is how deep is the level of awareness amongst our people about our blessings. We are a very educated population, very patriotic people. When you sit down with public servants and you genuinely and sincerely engage with them, the solutions are within them. On 15th of November 2015, when the president reshuffled the cabinet and asked me to go to Jogoo House as Minister for Education, for a moment, I didn't know what to do, honestly, because the previous year, the exam had leaked like a sieve. We would see examination papers on KTN in the evening, and they're being done in the morning. And you know, schools were registering those crazy A's. You know, one school has got 144 A's, and so on and so forth. The previous year, in one of our universities, one entire class in the Faculty of Engineering, had failed. And I could see, even in the church where I was worshiping, we celebrate kids and say, oh, let's thank the Lord. They have scored an A. Then they turn up in medical school. Then a year later, they're out. You can see, you don't need unique wisdom to know what was going on. And all this madness that was happening at that particular time. But I remember the words Mr. Mwangi The then principal of Lenana School told me, when we sat down, when I called head teachers and I asked them in a focus group discussion, what is going on? Mr. Mwangi told me this, and I remember those words to this day. Waziri, you know, we have been discussing these things. Everyone knows what the problems are. The challenge now is in your office. It is you. If you are firm, you provide honest and truthful leadership, and you are determined to solve this problem, it will actually be solved. Because these cartels sometimes enjoy so much protection in these corridors where you are. And you are the one now in charge of this corridor. So if you become firm and ensure that they are not getting protection around here, this problem will come to an end. I told him, shake my hand. This is my deal with you. You have met Mr. Firm. I am very firm. And we will resolve these issues. For no virtue of my own, and I want to live with humility, for no virtue of my own, because of the hard work of those people, especially the late Professor Magoha, who became the chairperson of our National Examination Council. Everybody was inspired. What people don't know is that when we asked every sector to give us people to work with us, I asked General Mwatete, who was the CDF that time, to give us a military logistician. All these people in the security sector, they gave us brilliant people. They are so brilliant people who are capable of doing anything that you would like done. And we put together small teams, security teams, small ICT teams, and so on and so forth. The level of dedication and commitment from the public servants, everybody doing their best. And slowly, we turned the leaf, and everything turned around. Heb, I want to tell you, my dream is to be actually the Lee Kuan Yew of Kenya, because that guy, that guy in Singapore, because I agree with you. There's nothing Lee Kuan Yew did in that country. What he did is simply simple meritocracy, insisting that you get a job not because of your surname, you get a job because you can do it. And insisting that when everything works right, it works well for all of us. All of you people who are here, and if you want me to be very blunt today, none of you is looking for a government to cook for you. None of you is looking for a government to make your bed. None of you is looking for a government to raise your children for you. You are looking for a government that works, a government that delivers on the promises they make, and a government that does what it is supposed to do. That's why when I was in a public meeting the other day, I said, my hope is that we restore the trust and faith of the people in government again. That people can trust government. We restore faith and trust of the people in government again. So that when government says something, they mean it. Two, that we run a credible and clean government. Because there are some things that happen that you ask yourself questions about and you cannot get the answers. And by the way, this is not because we cannot do it, because we can do it. For Kenya, the frustration is that we are like a people who are placed by the sea, who wash our hands with spittle. When it comes to public affairs and public service, the over-politicization of the public service is stuff that we need to address so that Kenyans, not foreigners, Kenyans can achieve and do what needs to be done. And we can do it as it were. So despite all those challenges, I want to tell you, my brothers and sisters, that there is hope. Because what happens in every society, when we have challenges such as we do, I am sure all of you in this room get letters from relatives or emails asking for school fees, asking for medical support, asking for all manner of support and so on. You feel the pain. You are in touch with your country. This is not who we are. Some of the things we are seeing now do not describe Kenya. Kenya is a great country. We are better people. I was Minister for Security when we had the coronavirus. I went to Katangi or Katani, somewhere near Machakos, to thank some women who were cooking for police officers on their own volition. No one had asked them. Because we had a roadblock there, and police officers were there for 24 hours, and because we were doing everything in a hurry, sometimes the supply system we had for bread and milk would be delayed. These ladies put themselves together, and they organized a roster, and they were cooking for police officers regularly. They didn't ask money from government or anywhere. They were doing it on their own. We are a caring country. We are very responsible people as a nation. So some of the language you see is not our character as a nation. It doesn't reflect us, and therefore we don't need to be worried about that. We are better people, and as a country we can turn the corner and move forward and reorganize our country. So don't give up. Never, ever, ever give up on your country, despite those challenges. Because what happens in most cases, and this is what I've been telling small groups as we meet, when you have challenges such as we do in our country, there is real temptation to give up, and sometimes bad leaders in cases like those will divide us so that we turn us against each other. That's when you start hearing tribal talk. That's when you start hearing it's 41 versus 1 and those types of things. Please, don't you fall for those types of things. We are a stronger community. We are better people. Let us keep hope in our country. We are a resilient society. We are the long-distance country. We are the marathon country. We will always cross the bridge and do well and do better for our country. Even some of the challenges we face now in the education sector, where there's a big uncertainty, and I saw so many questions from you about what's happening in the education sector. It is true, because what you need in any education in any country is a well-resourced school, a well-trained teacher, and a child with hope. Now we are seeing cases where, because you know, if you follow, President Mwai Kibaki started with free education and opened the doors and windows of school for every kid to come in. Uhuru Kenyatta followed with 100% transition so that we retain our children in school, and we started reworking our curriculum to be sure that we have a curriculum that is responsive to the market needs that we had. And we've continued in this way. You know, we used to transfer money to schools, 1,400 for primary kids, capitation. Now here it has been rationalized downwards. 22,000 for secondary school kids. Now here it has been rationalized downwards. And now in some cases it's not coming in. I speak sometimes to school teachers and principals, and they are really stressed about this and so on and so forth. Because policy certainty is necessary in the education sector. We will get together, we will put ourselves together and ensure that as we move forward, we resolve these issues. We are a resilient country. We have sufficient resources to move our country to the next level. Some of these challenges we face are momentary. Finally, because I would like to take a few questions from you and I want to hear you. My dear friends, as we go forward, no one should tell you that we don't face serious challenges. I said the other day in a meeting that I think we are probably closer to the cliff than we think we are because of man-made mistakes. Some of these people may think is about money, but I don't think that all our problems have got to do with money. Some of our challenges are related to management, and some of our challenges are related to decisions that we have made, or sometimes insensitivities amongst us and some of us. what people don't realize is that even when you are enjoying wine and whiskey on the top deck of the Titanic, when it sinks, you will actually sink. It will not matter that you are on the top deck of the ship. We have those kinds of challenges, such as you people are aware of, that I don't want to spend time on. But rather than keep pointing fingers and saying who is in and who is out, who's wrong and who's right, I would like to request you and appeal to you and persuade you that all of us, with the same spirit that you people have, we should now focus on how we move forward. The other day I was in Atlanta speaking to fellow Kenyans there. I said, you know, when we hire people, and you more than anyone else knows this because you live in the US, we ask them for their CVs, we look at their track record, we look at what they have done, where they have been, and what has gone on there. Why are we actually having a debate about tribes in our country? We go to hospital. I'm not aware of anybody who has arrived at Nairobi Hospital and looked at the board and said, "It's a doctor from my tribe on duty today so that I can be treated." You go in and you get a service. Government is supposed to provide services to you. I ask you, more than anyone else, you are the ones who are here in the US, who are exposed, who are in this environment, to help to push through this same message, help that you are talking about here. Persuading our people to understand that where we are going to is not about ethnic communities, is not about your surname, it's about a simple question. Can you or can you not do it? And you can look at people and conclude whether they can or they cannot do it. And then this idea of, you know, the challenges we've had before. People come before us, like it happened in 2022. The most amusing one is people believe that religion should carry you along. And because we are a religious society, everybody suddenly becomes a good Christian, recites verses in public meetings, starts by saying, "Bwana Yesu asifiwe," ndugu na dada, na mimi hata nimeokoka, and those kinds of things. I mean, as a country, we have gone through this conmanship. Surely, it's indeed time for us to now go to the serious business of managing the country. Yeah, because you see, my friends, this is not child's play. Running a country is very serious business, as you have seen. The learning curve can be long. The challenges are there. As President Obama said one time, nobody will tell you the realities of sitting in an office until you get there and wake up in the morning and find that everybody is tuning their radio or TV to listen to you, and the decisions you make are going to affect so many millions of people, as it were. And then you see the kind of things that you have seen have happened in our country. It's indeed therefore necessary for us to now be serious enough and tell people your Christianity and your religion is your private affair. It is very good if you, yeah. It's very good if you are a good man and you love your wife, and that's all you are supposed to do anyway. And how you give your tithe and how you give your offering, that is between you and your God. For us, let us now manage the country. Twende kwa kazi. Let's go to work for our country. Because this is about work. Because that's how our country has been conned. So, as we move forward, I know we are beginning to talk about next elections and so on. That's fine. But my brothers and sisters, unless we are serious, determined, and resolute that we are going to change our lives ourselves, we will continue to do hii musunguko. And I have seen people have started again some new songs. And then we end up with the same reality as we go forward. I will join the others in advocating for an increase of polling stations here in the US. Because frankly, it doesn't make sense that someone from Texas will go to vote in Washington. This is three hours flight. It doesn't make sense. Or to go and vote wherever. We need a minimum, at least for this first round, of about 10 or so new polling stations in this country where Kenyans are. Plus again, you know, we can't love your money, but we don't want your participation. You know, it cannot be. We can't love your money and say, oh, you know, continue making the remittances. The 4 billion, that's good. Increase your remittances. But then we do not want to listen to your views about what is going on in the country. I will join my colleagues who are advocating, and I support that idea, that some of us, when it comes to our parties and coalitions putting up nomination lists to the IBC during the elections, we should actually try to put names from the diaspora into those nominations. Even for, you know, MCA positions, it's good to have someone who understands how this environment functions. Transfer of skills and experience may help us. In some cases, you may probably end up being probably the sober mind in that council or in that county to help the others to move forward, so that you see whether some of these values can be shared out there as we go forward. And as we continue working on this, I will not tire to remind you that those who are going to change our country and achieve the vision of Lee Kuan Yew that Heb talks about are not going to come from anywhere. It is us who are here, who are going to begin by living the philosophy and the words of Prime Minister Tony Blair that the art of leadership sometimes is to say no, because saying yes is very easy. So that we say no to this hypocrisy, we say no to this kind of lies. You know, a mistake is not a mistake. Vile Waswahili wanasema kosa sio kosa, kosa ni kurudia. So let us not be buried in the past. And I keep telling people, even here in the US, when I meet Kenyans, let's stop talking about elections in 2022. That ended. Let's now be forward-facing. We have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to change our life. We have an opportunity to do different things. And because of that opportunity, let's seize it and do the right thing, as it were. You know, many of you here are Christians, and you are Bible-reading Christians. Even Jesus Christ used to ask those that he healed, do you want to be healed? Or do you want to be saved? Do you want to be healed? And they said yes. Some of them he said, your faith has healed you. And after that, the next thing Jesus told them, carry up your mat, get up and go. So my message to you, my brothers and sisters, is that do you actually want real change? So if you want real change, then get yourselves together, get your feet and hands in, let us change our country and move forward. Because no one is going to do it for us. And to do that, we don't have to quarrel with anyone. That is why I will not spend 1 minute attacking anyone or criticizing anyone, because negative energy has no returns. And you know, all of you wonderful people know the power of positive thinking. Let's think about the capacities we have, the energies we have, the blessings that we have, the people we have. There is nothing we cannot do in Kenya. There are no achievements we can register in our country if we are serious and committed to doing this. So that we pull together, as the national anthem says, let us come together one and all, and together, united, build this our nation together. Not loot this our nation together. Come together and build this nation so that we go forward and develop the country that God has given us. We have the capacity, we have the will, we can do this. Let us not accept to be divided. These stories you hear around, and the things you are seeing in our country, people talk negatively. Any negative talkers, please tell them we have a better future coming and we are focusing on that future. We don't have time to waste. Any people attacking others, tell them we have more work to do. We don't have time to look at people's mistakes. In any case, after you have learned from people's mistakes, there is nothing more to do there. Let us go forward. Let's stop looking backwards and say, this is what happened in 2022 and so on. It's gone. Let's move on to the next destination. And the next destination we are going is an opportunity. And the opportunity to build a stronger, better, resilient, much more organized country that faces the future, as it were. I assure you, my dear friends, that as we go forward, guided by the will of God and working with others, because the goodwill in the country is immense. Every Kenyan you talk to in every sector is saying we are not doing as well as we should do. Some of them you have to tell them, let's not point fingers. Let's go forward. Because this time is time for forward. It's not time for looking back and time for looking sideways. Because you see, if you really, really want to make progress in your life, you will not waste time looking back or waste time looking sideways to figure out who is not doing what and who should do what they are not doing. We should all be focusing forward. The stars are ahead of us, and let's go for the stars. So by the grace of God and all of you people and your support, working together, and I pray, I sincerely pray, and then I want to assure you from the bottom of my heart, I've always been as truthful as I am. Many of you, there are people in this environment who grew up with me and who know how we grew up. We have always been like this, as plain as you see. And I'm not going to make excuses. If I was given an opportunity to do our work, I will not make excuses and I will not blame anybody. I will take responsibility and you can call me to account myself. And so, let's then work together and see how best we can build a stronger and better country, correct some of the mistakes, fix some of the challenges that we have had to deal with as we move our country to the next level. And in doing so, I want to end with two things. In this journey, personally, I would like to demonstrate one thing, that love does more than hate. We love one another. When people come to you with negative words and criticisms and everything else, love them even more. Because love does more than hate. We will build a better and stronger country. Love does more than hate. And secondly, we will do this with humility. Talk to one another as people who love their country and who know that we have a bigger mission. And the bigger mission that God has cut out for us is to reorganize our country to ensure that we tap into the energies, the resources, and the capabilities we have in our country to build a better country so that we can bequeath to our children and our children's children a better country than we ourselves found, as it were. May the Lord bless you, wonderful people, and may we go forward together. Thank you.
Wanasema Mungu ni moja tu, ni Matiang'i. Wakenya wote wanasema